Hey guys, what's up? I thought I'd do another video on the Onision saga that's going on. Lately, he's been phoning 911 again because he does that all the time, I guess. Apparently, he is pretty notorious having what was it? 19 calls, 20 now, 20 calls at his house, 20 911 calls at his house, which is pretty high considering usually most people don't have one in a year. I've never had to call 911, you know. Um, so let's have a look at this. This is, you got to bear in mind, Onision's a manipulator. He will try to manipulate anyone he comes across. He'll try to spin it, even to the police. So just bear in mind, this isn't 100%, you know, an actual thing that happened. There's no evidence for this at the moment.
Communications, how may I help you?
Hi, I was told by dispatch to give you guys a call back when I was approaching my home.
So I don't know what this is in reference to, but I'm pretty sure. Hang on. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's in reference to the Onision. It might be. I'm not 100% sure on this, so don't take me 100% seriously here. But I'm pretty sure this is in reference to the 911 call where Chris Hansen came to his door because Greg's kind of painting this picture that everyone's stalking him, but really Chris Hansen is a journalist. Coming to his door is pretty normal. We're going to watch that Chris Hansen call in, right after this. Right after this. It won't be in a separate video.
Have someone come out to take care of a stalking and trespassing situation that happened a little while back.
Yeah, a little while back. That sounds like he's talking about the Chris Hansen one.
Okay, what's the address?
Jake Harbor, 98335.
Okay. And you're there now?
I am 4 minutes out.
Okay, I'm not 100% sure on how this works because I don't drive, but not sure if you're supposed to be on your phone while you're driving. That sounds a bit weird. Sounds a bit dangerous, you know. I mean, there could be a difference between using your phone to text and using your phone to phone, but I'm not 100% sure. Greg is the sort of litigious psycho brat that desperately follows the law and will use the legal system against people, but will not follow the law. For example, he allegedly, from Sarah, in the Sarah interview by Chris Hansen, he allegedly asked her to make pot brownies and allegedly gave her alcohol under the age of 21. So, but Greg also is very against weed in his public videos. So what we get from this is that allegedly, if the alleged evidence is true, because I've got to keep saying this because Greg is a litigious sex weirdo. I don't want to get sued by this sex weirdo. I mean, Repsion did, so I'm gonna keep it real, you know. This is all alleged, but allegedly he breaks the law, and then he publicly says he's against breaking the law. And knowing Greg, knowing how much he's been caught up in like stuff like this, I'm not 100%. I'm pretty sure that's true. But we're going to get along with this. So just bear in mind, Greg's trying to portray a picture that he's being victimized, he's being stalked. And I don't know if you call it stalking, but it's it's not the best behavior. But I don't know if anything here is actually illegal.
Okay. And what exactly were you reporting?
Someone who works at Lowe's in Port Orchard posted online about how they showed up to our house, with the no trespassing signs and all within that proximity.
So allegedly from Greg, someone has shown up to his house and taken photos. I'm not so sure this happened. I'm not sure. This is the thing about Greg. He's sort of a controlled opposition type of person. If you don't know what controlled opposition means, it's when he's portraying people that are against him and he's creating situations like this. I don't know if Greg would commit perjury. I'm not saying that, but I mean, he kind of has seemed to in the past. In the Chris Hansen interview, he has a couple of discrepancies. But what the main thing I'm saying is that I haven't seen this. I haven't seen these photos. I haven't seen these social media posts. And with Greg, you really have to keep that in mind because Greg will create stuff. I mean, a lot of the emails quote unquote, in his videos. He'll say he brings up emails, but those are never shown. And Greg has a lot of these emails that are very outlandish, very easy for him to debunk. And it's pretty obvious that that's controlled opposition, things he wrote as someone addressing him. But let's go forward with it.
And they took a picture of our daughter when we were at Lowe's and posted that to the internet. We were hoping to have not only the Lowe's situation handled as far as making sure Lowe's understood that.
So this is allegation. This is a quite damning allegation. I mean, the thing about Greg is, I don't care what happens to Greg. I'm not bullying Greg. I'm just talking about situations that are happening. But if someone bullied Greg, I wouldn't actually care. If someone took a picture of Greg, I wouldn't actually care. But don't take pictures of their kids, especially not the daughter. She's having a rough time as it is. I mean, both of them really are. They're the children of Onision. I mean, I hope they get taken away from him soon enough that they don't have to remember Greg, because according to, there's several videos where he is in the background. These are Kai videos where Greg is in the background shouting at the children. So I feel bad for these kids having to live in this environment. This call is a bit timid. It's a bit tame. I mean, I don't think he should have phoned 911 because someone took a picture of him ages ago. I don't think you should have phoned 911 for that, or phone 911. This is the actual thing. I haven't really thought about this from this perspective. This is an emergency number. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's like 111 or 999. No, 999 is that's an emergency number too. I know that. I live in the UK. But I'm pretty sure there is a non-emergency number for the police, and I think it's really what's the word? It's very reckless of Onision to call an emergency number to report something that isn't an emergency. But and Greg has done this before in his court trial. He reported the situation with Repsion as an emergency when it's not, and that is under penalty of perjury. So if he did indeed commit perjury, he could be seeing some big consequences for that. But we will go forward with this now.
One of their employees was posting photos of customers and their daughters, as well as showing up to their house.
See what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't think a 911 call is the right place to complain about someone taking a picture of you. I mean, someone shouldn't take a picture of you. It's kind of weird to take a picture. I mean, if you're taking a picture and like Greg's in the background mysteriously, that's sort of a grey area. But I don't think people should take pictures of Greg. Actually, I like the pictures of Greg. Don't take pictures of his kids. Greg pictures I don't care about. I'm not inciting anything, but I'm saying I wouldn't care if you did. So take those as you will.
On their personal time, not on official business.
Okay. When did they come to your house?
That's to be determined. I was going to go to Lowe's to find.
This is the thing. That's to be determined. Greg does not know when this happened. This person was a solid snake. He or she. I assumed it was a woman. Maybe they said woman before, but he or she, there was a solid snake in it. They were crawling through the wilderness, taking little photos. That's more naked snake territory. But I don't know. According to this allegation, had a little spy, little member of Foxhound crawling around. So yeah, Greg doesn't know about this. It isn't happening now. So why is he calling an emergency number? It's a bit. Is that perjury? That's wasting police resources, I would imagine.
I doubt.
How do you know they were at your house?
They admitted to it online. They said when they were typing in our address at Lowe's, they said that they already knew it and that they typed it in themselves. Because
I know Greg's address. No, I know that's someone else I'm thinking of. Yeah, I know Greg's address because I've been to the Kiwi Farms thing. I'm not going to dox him. I'm not going to say it here because that would be, knowing how people feel about Greg, I think that'd be a little unethical of me. But I know Greg's address. It's very public knowledge. Greg was one of the very early faces of being doxed. I don't think he's ever actually been successfully swatted. Do not swat Greg. I'm going to say that now. Do not swat Greg because he has, I don't think anyone should be swatted. I think it should all be handled through the legal system. but especially not Greg, because he has children, and I don't want his children to have to face this either. This is the thing. Greg's children are the biggest victim. It's kind of the dumbest thing I've said because I didn't phrase that right, but at the moment, Greg's children are victims too. I mean, the girls that were groomed, they are very much victims too. I'm not saying they're not, but we need to also see Greg's children as victims themselves. I mean, they're not victims of sexual abuse. They haven't been alleged to be victims of sexual abuse. I cannot say they're not. I can't exonerate Greg of that. But they seem to be victims of some sort of abuse because Greg is yelling at them. And I'm not going to enter conspiracy territory here. I'm just going to nuzzle up to it real quick. The report about Greg's daughter falling from that window was very suspicious to me. I mean, one of the things about it was that there was no blood. This is according to the report. There was no blood where she fell, but she did have exterior wounds. Now, how do you think that happens? Because I don't think blood cleans itself. Bit spooky, you know? So these kids are definitely victims of neglect. These kids could be victims of physical violence. I don't know. You don't know. I mean, while we're at it, they could be victims of sexual violence. I don't believe that. You know, no one said that. I'm just saying I can't exonerate Greg of that. Greg is a very weird person. Greg is a sex weirdo. And Kai has said that and this was when I'm going to say she was Lainey, this was back then, that she was feeling bad that they were having a daughter with Greg because she knows Greg is a sex weirdo. I'm not 100% sure when this happened, but I'm pretty sure it was the pre-Kai period. So let's go back to this.
They had come to our house before on their own personal time.
Okay. And what's your name?
My name is James Jackson.
He really sticks to that. This is the thing about Greg. He like gaslights kind of. He's like, oh, I was never Greg, but his name is Greg. His name is Greg. It's like the forums thing. I never had forums, but the video before that, he literally said my forums were 18 plus. Those two things are both lies. His forums were never 18 plus. There's multiple videos you can see where he is talking about the appearance of 15-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and this is the thing. He's shooting himself in the foot. You know, he's hanging himself on his own like thing. It's like Chris is giving him the rope and he's hanging himself. In this video, he was talking about how it's not creepy because he wasn't rating their appearances, and he was saying how 15-year-olds can look like 18-year-olds, and I mean 15-year-olds can look like 18-year-olds. I've seen Danny Cohn, but the thing about that is Greg was trying to defend himself with that, and then ages later he's saying my forums were 18 plus. That's a lie. And then he said I didn't have forums. That's also a lie. So Greg, he tries to gaslight people, but this is the thing. It's not like a one-on-one thing where he can manipulate people like that, because we all have receipts here. We have the videos, you know.
Phone number? Okay, and your date of birth?
1985.
Okay, I'm going to put you on a brief hold. We'll be back in just a moment.
All right.
So we're now entering call number 2, and I wanted to call a similarity out. After the Chris Hansen thing, Greg alleged that someone alleged that Chris had followed him home. Now, I know that's bullshit, because that's the type of thing Greg would do. He would make an allegation from someone that doesn't exist, because then he doesn't look bad for it. You know, if I said someone said that Greg rapes puppies, you know, I would seem like I'm just parroting an accusation. But if I said Greg rapes puppies, I would be lying, because Greg doesn't rape puppies. Not that I know of. Maybe Greg rapes puppies. Maybe Greg rapes the entire world. But the thing is that Greg does this sort of thing where he'll say someone said something, and this could be an example of it here. But now we're going to go to call number 2.
Hold.
All right, thank you for holding, sir. Sorry about that wait. So are you home now?
Yeah, no problem. Yes, I'm home.
Okay. All right, I'll get a call in for dispatch here. I'll pass the information on to our dispatcher, and we'll have a unit contact you, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, yeah, someone's been dispatched. That means a officer is going to him. But the thing that weirds me out is this is not an emergency. This is something that happened quite a while ago. Also, Greg mentioned the trespassing signs. Greg really sticks to this. Now, Greg doesn't know the law. That isn't a bad thing in itself, because I don't really know the law. But Greg thinks he knows the law, so stuff in his head seems like it makes sense. And apparently these trespassing signs have, like, it's illegal past this point, and Greg thinks that is some sort of gotcha that incriminates Chris, but the thing is, according to Mike Morse, Chris's attorney, it does not. And I'm going to take it on the kind of reputation of Mike Morse, a lawyer, instead of Greg, someone that dropped out of high school. I mean, no disrespect to anyone that dropped out of high school. I get it. I didn't, but I get it.
Communications, how can I help you?
Hi, I'm calling to see if there's an ETA on the...
This is the same thing. Greg's asking if there's a kind of estimate of when the cops are coming. Greg does this all the time. He really doesn't treat the 911 system well. So the thing about it is, you've got to think about it like this. They are spending their time that they could spend on a different emergency on you. And Greg, one, in this call, has phoned for something that isn't an emergency. And secondly, he is now asking when they are coming. And he's just clogging up the line. It's like, bro, don't clog up the line for the officers, because while this is happening, there's crimes happening. I mean, what's happened to Greg, if he alleges it's true, could be a crime. I don't know the law, and I'm not like Greg. I'm not gonna profess that I know the law, but there are crimes happening, like real crimes, like murder and rape and robbery and all those bad things. I mean, stalking's bad, but yeah, real emergencies are happening, and Greg is phoning like 911 over like some shit that happened a little while ago that isn't an emergency, and it's like, bro, can you not? I mean, if he went to a police station and really filed this report himself, it wasn't an emergency, I get that. I'd respect that. I mean, that's the first time I've, like, had Greg and respect in the same word, in the same sentence, but yeah, I would respect Greg's move there to, file a police report on a non-emergency. I don't know if that's illegal or not. I don't know if taking the photo is illegal, but I would think it's not. I know in California you have to have a person's permission to take a photo if they're in it, but also this is a photo of their house. I'd really think, is it doxing or is it not? Because if it's got their address in it, then I would consider that doxing. But you got to bear in mind, Greg's the most doxed person in the internet at the moment.
Deputy supposed to come to my address regarding a trespassing case.
What's the address there?
So I'm going to leave this one here, because this is just him asking for an estimate on how long it's going to take. It's kind of douchey of him. I mean, I get it if, it's been, a little while and someone's, having a bad moment, having a bruh moment on the counter or on the kitchen floor. If someone's, got a problem, I get why you'd be like, yo, is anyone coming if it's been a while, but this is not an emergency. This is just some random thing that's happened. This is just a report based on, some shit that happened a while ago. But now we're going to move on to the big, juicy steak. We've had the fries, the little veggies, the last call there. But now we're going to move on to the juicy, medium rare steak. Actually, this is more well done since it's so old. It's been in the oven a little while,
Hi, there's a person who's been stalking me online, and they just showed up to my house.
So Greg calls this stalking, and I think this is a tactic to get the police to come faster, because Greg calls anything stalking. I'm making a video about Greg. According to Greg, that is stalking. I don't think it is. I'm just talking about some shit, public information. This is public information. These are public police things. I'm not following him. I know where his address is, but that's because I've read it online by accident. Greg's address is very public. Don't go after it. Don't go after him. Let the police deal with Greg. Greg is a police matter. He's a sex weirdo on the internet that must be taken on by the police and Chris Hansen. So don't have like some vigilante complex where you got to Aiden Pierce hack up the world, because just let it rest, let it happen. But yeah, let Greg let Greg incriminate himself. This is the thing about the Keemstar interview, and this is going to be a very, I don't know, a very unpopular opinion. I think the Keemstar interview should have happened. I think Keem should have let Greg talk, because Keem challenges people when they say shit, and Greg incriminates himself like a lot, and he has moments where he will tell the world things. You know, he'll tell the world what he's doing. He'll tell the world what he's been doing, what was happening, and that'll kind of sort of create little what's the word, little bits that don't make sense. You know, like when he said he didn't have forums, and then he said his forums were 18 plus. I mean, I don't know what's going on there, but it seems like he's lying. And I think the Keemstar interview would have shown Greg off as lying to some degree. I think he would have said something, and Keem would have been like, "Well, look at this," and then he would have shown himself off to be more of a liar. You got to bear in mind, people are smarter than to take their word at, take the word of someone who has allegedly committed several acts of grooming, several sex weirdo incidents. So let's keep going on with this.
What's your address? Is that a house?
I'm sorry. The police department that has censored this has censored it in such a way that it's a loud high pitched sound. So I'm sorry for anyone in the audience that is sensitive for high pitched sounds.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're outside now?
Yes.
So at this moment, and you can see Chris, he is at the door. He is not yelling. He is saying things. He's saying, I think he was saying to Kai, because he did not know Greg was in. He was saying, "Oh, Kai, do you want to do an interview? Kai, I want to get your comment on this." He was just knocking on the door. He was being it's not impolite. It's not something I'd like, but I'm sort of a little bit of a social hermit. I wouldn't like anyone at my door.
They're knocking on my door.
Okay. And do you know if they have any weapons?
They have a bunch of camera people.
So Chris, if you look at the photos, clearly they were taken by someone. The stills on the background. So Chris has got some camera guys. They're stood back as so to not break the law. I don't think it was against the law, but Chris mentioned in one of the videos that he didn't want to do anything. He didn't want them to do anything that could jeopardize this. So I think he was worried about them accidentally committing something that could be seen as a violation of the law.
Like they're YouTube stalkers.
Okay.
I love this, like the fact Greg thinks anyone that makes a video on him is a YouTube stalker. Like Papa Muda here. Papa Muda, he's a YouTube stalker. You know, he lives in a different country and he just talks about Greg every once in a while, but he is the YouTube stalker. You know, I just find that kind of funny that Greg is so. I think he's painting himself as a victim in this because he wants 911 to see him as a victim. And I think this is the early days of his manipulation. I don't know if Greg has fully accepted the fact that the booby inspectors themselves, the FBI, are honing in on him, because that's something that's been said by the police. Even La Policia has said that in I think it was the police report about the policing is so much paperwork. But in the police report about the incident with the daughter, the police said that the FBI are in contact with them and looking into this. So I don't know if Greg has realized this and he's trying to paint a sympathetic picture, or if Greg is just being Greg, because Greg's a bit of a weirdo.
But no weapons seen?
I didn't see any weapons.
Chris did not have a weapon. That's something definitive. Greg is telling the truth, and I think that's because if he didn't tell the truth, that will cause like a response from the police department that could get Greg in big trouble. So yeah, so Chris didn't have a weapon. He had some cameras. Greg tried to, when she first said that, Greg tried to just kind of ominously lead to it with the cameras, but yeah, no weapon. Okay.
I just saw like
Okay.
6 guys in my driveway, and one of them is knocking on my door.
Okay.
So this is going to be the best. When we look back at this in like 50, 60 years. That's like 50, 60 years on the internet. So like probably like 12 months. When we look back at this, we'll always remember the Chris Hansen bit, and it's about to come. It's about to come in a second. But one of the things I was going to say is, yeah, the camera guys are hanging back. Chris is at the door. He's kind of being a journalist. The camera guys are getting not B-roll, but they're getting kind of not interviews like we see here. It's more from this perspective.
1 second here.
You remember Greg's house is like big, and it's in like the backwoods. It's right by the wetlands. It's not big. It's got a big bit of property, and it's by the wetlands. I just want to say, this is a little thing that happened. Greg, after destroying so much of the wetlands and being fined by the Environmental Protection Agency, I think it was, Greg bought more wetlands and like exclusively wetlands. It was like all wetlands, so he can't do shit with it, but he owns it now. And I just find that so funny because it's like a pointless piece of land.
And the one that's knocking on your door, is he the main one that you said has been stalking you?
Yes, he's a stalker. He's yelling. He's yelling things at me through the door.
He's not yelling. Chris said, and I trust Chris, and it's also in the video, that Chris did not seem to be yelling. He seemed to be just saying it in just enough of an elevated tone that you could hear it out inside, but not like yelling it, not like shouting at them.
No.
Okay, and what do we know his name?
This is the best part of internet history.
It's Chris Hansen.
Oh my! I need to take control of the operator's mind on the other side of the phone, because she must be like, "What the fuck? What did you do to get Chris Hansen coming after you?" So yeah, it's Chris Hansen of Dateline NBC. He's telling Greg to have a seat because they're doing a story on some guy on the internet who is allegedly a predator, and that's Greg.
Okay, Hansen.
She knows how to spell it. She knows who it is.
Sen, yeah. Hansen.
And then Chris.
Chris, yeah.
Okay, is he white, black, Asian, Hispanic?
He's white.
White, black, Asian, Hispanic. That sounds very like a common thing you would say, but the thing about that is, I really think she thinks it's Chris, and I think she knows it's Chris.
Okay, do we know how old he is?
Older. He's like probably.
It must be so weird for her though, like just piece by piece realizing it's Chris.
58, 60.
Okay,
something like
how
that.
tall?
Probably 5'10", 5'11".
Okay, then medium or heavy?
He's skinnier.
What color hair?
Blondish gray.
Okay, and are you able to see what he's wearing or no?
I think he's wearing a black jacket.
Okay.
Greg is for once telling the truth. The video evidence proves that he was wearing a black jacket.
I have a security camera.
Can you?
Now, Greg's house is littered with security cameras, and this is another thing about the daughter case. And I'm not going to jump down that conspiracy rabbit hole. I know you want me to. Well, actually, I know you don't want me to. So, Greg's house is littered with cameras, okay? And that's something you got to know. It's covered in cameras. You can see like every angle. But there is no angle for where the daughter fell. And that's what makes me concerned. Because, like, there's no angle on that. And I'm like, yeah, but that's like an entrance. It's right in front of the garage. And, like, if you're going to set up cameras, you could set it up so you can see down into the garage. Because the way it's set up is the garages are lower. And you go drive down into the garage and drive out. It's sort of like a basement. Now, if I was going to install cameras, and you got to bear in mind, Greg's an idiot who will not pay people to do things for him, and thinks he is smarter than everybody. So, got to bear in mind, Greg probably is an idiot here, and this could be just, a bit conspiracy. But why didn't he put it on the entrance? On the actual, the garage is an entrance. If someone like opened up your garage somehow, I don't know, maybe they had the garage door open, it had the same frequency, because it seems pretty easy. That's where the security camera should be. Maybe looking up, because looking down is pretty useless if they've got a hat on.
See what color pants?
He's wearing a black jacket, black pants. His hair is gray. He's still yelling things at me through the door.
Yeah, Chris is a bit of an emo. He only wears black. But on a serious side, I can't hear him yelling, and that's the thing I find interesting. That he's saying he's yelling, but I can hear like the TV in the background. I can hear the dog barking, but I can't hear a lovely American hero yelling. Can't hear Chris yelling, and he's an American hero. I would say. I mean, dude busted like 300 nonces. That's a bit heroic. But yeah, I'm kidding around. I can't hear Chris. I can hear the dog. I can hear the television. Can't hear Chris though. So I think he's lying. I think we've proved that he's lying at this point.
Okay, black jacket, black pants. Can you hear what he's yelling?
No.
Okay.
That's the thing. I can hear him yelling. I don't know what he's yelling. That's a bit. I would understand what he's yelling. At the time, he was talking to Kai because he thought Greg was gone.
Oh, he's saying, I want your side of the story, Greg.
I think, and here's what I'm saying. I think Greg made that up because Chris says he was talking to Kai, but I could be wrong. But the thing is, I think Greg made that up and he said the no just to kind of bide for time. Greg's name is Greg, by the way.
My name's not even Greg.
His name is Greg. He uses this. I think he's trying to discredit Chris to the 911 operator. So I think that's what he's trying to do. I don't think the 911 operator takes him very seriously, and with good reason.
Okay. What is your last name?
My name is James Jackson.
It's like a rehearsed line, isn't it? My name is James Jackson. My name is James Jackson, and I totally don't diddle kids. It's just it reminds me of Postal Dude, the way I said that. But yeah, it's weirdly rehearsed. Like he could have just said Jackson. He doesn't seem scared, and I mean, people handle things different ways, so I can't say that. But I don't know. It just all adds up into one thing. Something feels wrong about this.
Okay. Last of Jackson, first of James is what I heard. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's saying, I just want to talk through the door.
Okay. And what?
I don't think Chris came with the intention of Greg actually opening the door. I think he was playing him. Chris did say that predators are easy to predict, and I think he predicted this. I think Craig. I think Greg is, doing exactly what Chris expected and exactly what Chris wanted. He was a bit of a pussy, I mean, Greg is an enormous pussy, but now he's being like a mega pussy.
What's your date of birth? 5?
Yeah.
Okay, and what is your best callback number?
Yeah.
Okay,
do you have any weapons in the home, James?
No, I don't.
That is a lie. Greg has a channel. I don't know what it is, but it's a channel, and this is confirmed that he talks about rifles and shit, and he's got this weird sort of prepper thing going on where he's like, I'm gonna fight to protect myself, and I think Greg's going a little bit off the rails, but he does have a rifle. That is true. So Greg is lying to the officer here. Don't know if that consists of perjury, but it seems like it.
Okay. And you said that there's roughly 5 more people there with cameras?
Yes, in the driveway.
Okay. One second here. And do you know what he's talking about, like why he was stalking you or anything like that?
This is really telling of Greg. He's trying to downplay it at the moment.
Yeah, there's like it looks like there's 1, 2.
See what he's saying here? He's biding for time. He's saying something irrelevant, or not irrelevant, something that's like not exactly relevant, so he can think of it. And I think that's what he's doing.
3, 4, 5, 6 people in the driveway.
Okay.
But I have someone that there's an 18. No, I think they're 19.
Greg knows he fucked up the age there and kind of admitted to something, so he kind of dodged it there. But yeah, this is a thing.
A 19-year-old who I didn't want to hang out with.
This is a thing Greg says all the time. Now, first, he said 18, no, 19, because he's trying to make himself seem a bit weird. Seem a bit non-weird. He's trying to eliminate the weirdo from sex weirdo. So, well, he's trying to eliminate sex and weirdo from sex weirdo. So, Greg is 35, born in 1985. Good year, apparently. But the thing about that is, he's hanging out with, like, an 18-year-old. Hanging out with, like, what was she, like, 14 when they met? And he's their legal guardian. So he's leaving a lot out. And Greg does this a lot. He leaves shit out, kind of pretends stuff doesn't exist, because he knows it makes him look bad. He knows how much of a nonce he looks like. He knows he looks like the biggest wrong'un in the world right now. So he's saying it's no longer like, let's just say 16, because I think it was either 16 or 14. It's not a 16 he was being creepy towards and was the legal guardian. It's now a 19-year-old I didn't want to hang out with because she has BPD. I don't think Sarah even has BPD. And this thing, Greg has this thing where he treats the mentally ill in a way, and I'm not an SJW by any means, but he's like, it's like ableist. And let's keep going.
I didn't want to be around them. They have BPD, and their stuff was, their mental disorder was like really affecting my life in a negative way.
Okay, so I just want to note, Greg is, now that he's being questioned and he has to come up with a reason, he's being a little bit more disjointed. I mean, I'm pretty disjointed when I speak. I do a lot of and ums and pauses like that. So that's curious. But the thing about this is, Greg treats people that are mentally ill like they are serial killers. And I'm not 100% sure with what this is, but with all of the girls he's dated, and, you know, somehow they're all BPD, mentally ill, crazy, you know, he kind of says, "Oh, I was afraid of them," and he treats all people with mental disorders like this like they're crazy and murderers, and he always says he's scared of them, but video always comes out where he's abusing them. So it's a bit, bit obvious that he's lying there. And I swear, like, Greg, and this is the thing, it's not just BPD. I think he said with other things, but he always comes back to, "I was worried they're going to kill me," and Greg isn't that paranoid. Greg isn't like that paranoid. Like, he's clearly being fake about this. And also, he diagnoses everyone with BPD. Like Sarah, he said had BPD. I don't know if that was confirmed. I'm pretty sure she has like ADHD, which is like nothing to do with BPD. Shiloh, I don't think had BPD, and I don't think Greg has BPD, but he has said he had it. He has said he has it. And this is the thing. I don't know if the BPD thing with Sarah is related to the ADHD, but they are different things. Like, ADHD is completely different from BPD. BPD is about how you feel about emotionally about things, and from what I understand, ADHD, it's in the name, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I'm not 100% sure if that's right, because I remember it used to be ADD. But yeah, it's not really a BPD similar thing. If it's close to anything, it's more close to like autism. They do share a couple of things. I've been researching this, not for the Onision investigation. Well, now I sound like Chris. But yeah, so he treats mentally ill people, or he treats them like they're crazy serial killers. Patrick Bateman. I don't know any more serial killers. He treats them. I don't even know any real serial killers. He treats them like they're John Wayne Gacy about to murder a kid. You know, that's one of them. That's a serial killer. Okay, I'm gonna go on a tangent if I talk about this stuff. So yeah, he treats mentally ill people like they're John Wayne Gacy.
So I said I didn't want them in my life anymore, and they went to this person and said a bunch of mean things about me.
This is the thing, he's portraying himself as the victim here, and I would not quite understand, but I would feel like maybe he's being a bit just a tiny bit disingenuous, or maybe feel like maybe there's a chance he's telling the truth. I don't doubt Sarah's report of the situation. I think Sarah is telling the truth. But he tries to play it off as if Sarah's just trying to smear him. The thing about it is he lies about what happened over and over and contradicts himself. So that excuse is just impossible to actually take seriously.
And so now this person's trying to like aggressively pursue me.
I like the idea though that Chris is only investigating him, and like Chris is in on this just because he dumped a girl. That would you see how crazy that sounds? I mean, Chris Hansen, famous nonce hunter. What is he gonna do? Hunt nonces? I mean, he did do other reporting, but we all know him for hunting nonces, don't we?
In a really hateful way as a result.
Okay, so you said they're from YouTube, though. So is it like a show that they do?
This is another thing about Greg. Sorry to keep pausing, but he treats everyone in the anti-Onision kind of block of YouTube as if they're all in cahoots and all friends. I mean, I wish I was friends with Chris Hansen. You know, that seems cool, but yeah, he treats them like they're all the same. Like he treats them like Repsion knows Chris, Chris knows me. You know, like that. I mean, Chris does have people on to talk, but that's their first time meeting. You know, their first time talking. So it's not like a concerted conspiracy like Greg thinks it is.
Or
It's
like Greg says it is. Greg doesn't think this probably.
It's a live stream. Yeah, I've already.
If you don't know, Chris does if this is the first time you're coming into this, Chris does a weekly live stream. It's in a couple hours. I think it's maybe, I don't know, 6 hours from now, 5 hours from now. So I definitely watch that. I'm gonna put a link in the end card as well, so you know it won't be too long until it's up on screen.
Talk to a lawyer about slander and stuff. This guy's really, really hateful towards me.
Greg has been talking to a lawyer, and this is the thing about Chris. Chris is like so neutral. I mean, he's definitely searching for what he thinks is happening, but you know, until now until this video he was pretty neutral. I mean, now he calls him a psycho brat, and I love it. But before he was pretty neutral on what was going on.
okay. And are you able to see what type of vehicle they arrived in?
No, they parked way down the street, which is really
Okay.
sketchy.
That's not a lie. That's manipulation. See, Greg's property is pretty big. Greg's property, I'm pretty sure he has a big driveway. So it's a bit of a lie, you know. It's not. It's one of those things where it's not quite a lie, but it isn't the truth. You know, it's not something you could call a lie because it isn't a lie. There's no false information there. It's just leaving stuff out. It's a lie by omission, you know?
Okay.
So they're standing out next to my SUV right now.
Okay.
I love this about Greg. Greg is very environmentalist in a fake way. He says he loves animals. Says he's a vegan, but allegedly he's not. And he says all this stuff about that. But then he destroys the environment as much as he can. And this is no hate towards people that drive SUVs, because ain't really your fault. I mean, I would pick a better car. You know, I don't really drive much. I don't drive at all, let's say. I'm being a bit mistaken. I'm getting a bit frazzled. I don't drive. I'm missing my point, so I'm having a tough time speaking all the way through it. I don't drive. Part of that is just kind of I'm not in really a position where I need to. I'm not in a position where, you know, the driving lessons are a good investment for me. I don't really think I need it enough to spend the money on it, and some of it is environmental concerns. But like, if you could drive a better car. You could drive a better gas mileage car. But Greg, see, if you were just someone that drove an SUV, I couldn't criticize you on that. But Greg paints himself as an environmentalist. It's like, not to get too political here, Elizabeth Warren. She says she's an environmentalist, but she flies a private plane, and those are huge on damage to the environment. Yeah, it's hypocrisy. It's not the fact that he drives the SUV. It's the fact that he's a hypocrite about it, because he says he loves animals, but then he also destroys their habitat by destroying the wetlands. So Greg's a pretty big hypocrite like that. Sorry, that was just a point I noticed I wanted to mention.
We're working on getting units out there as quickly as we can. Just go ahead and keep your doors locked. Do you feel comfortable disconnecting the line until we arrive? And then if anything changes, calling us back?
It should be fine. We're just hiding away from the windows.
Okay.
I love the picture of Greg hiding from Chris, who just wants to ask him questions. And this is the thing, if this was someone else, I'd be a bit like, this is the main thing. If this was someone else, I would feel bad for them. But this is someone Chris is looking for, so they're probably a nonce. And with Greg, I'm pretty sure he's a nonce.
If anything changes before we arrive, please call us back, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
911, what are you
This is a second call.
reporting?
Hi, I'm calling back. I reported some people who showed up to my house. No trespassing.
This is a pattern of Greg. He is very impatient with law enforcement, and he will call for non-emergencies. If this was as Greg said it was, and Chris was some crazy stalker banging on his doors and shouting, I would get that this is an emergency. But one, Greg is not telling the truth, and two, this isn't the worst case of it happening. The Lowe's one was much worse as a waste of police resources.
And their online.
What's the address there? Show your call here, sir. Has something changed on scene there?
Just waiting for the police to.
This is the thing, and I'm going to leave it here, but because she scolds him a little bit for it as well. They said, call if something changes. Nothing changed. Greg called because he got impatient. But you'll see, the law did eventually come. And I love it, because what are you going to do? When the law comes, what are they going to do? They all love Chris. He's a guy that punts predators. He's probably even collaborated with these exact officers. Well, not these exact officers, but their exact department on an investigation. So, you know, law enforcement loves Chris. They love Chris Hansen. They love what he did. They love what he does, you know. So, I don't know what Greg was thinking by this. You're not going to get the law on your side. But yeah, they showed up. They were like, yeah, that's cool. They didn't really care. I don't even think they told Chris to leave. They were just like, this is pointless. So Chris left, and he went. He got what he wanted. He got footage and even audio of Greg being a resounding pussy on the internet or in real life. So that's basically what I was saying. Greg is a pussy. That's basically it. There's nothing really more for me to say here. I want to say thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good one. Peace out.